Friends, it's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. How are you tonight? Awesome. Okay, good. Well, let's talk about resting. This has been on my mind lately. I often will tell people in my programs, right, participants in my programs, like, look, when you create a show, your content doesn't always have to be specifically about the topic that your show is designed for, right? So in other words, tonight, I'm going to talk about rest. I want to talk about rest because being in business can be exhausting, but rest isn't directly correlated to marketing, right? So this is just a side note for you all, but I'm just telling you, like I'm telling my participants, sometimes in marketing, you create content to help your people, even when how you help your people isn't directly connected to the conversation of your show, right? So tonight we're talking about resting. And I'm going to share just from my life because I'm in the middle of it. I haven't found my answers. And that's another thing, by the way, I tell participants in marketing, you don't always have to have the answer. Sometimes it can be just as helpful to give people the question, right? I have my answers and I will find my own answers. And for this particular topic, I'm in the middle of my own process right now. You can hear what I have to say to you tonight based on my process and my experience, and you can come to your own conclusions and your own answers. That's the beauty of marketing when marketing is a conversation and not like from on high, this is the right or wrong answer. Marketing is you leading a conversation with your people. All right. All that being said, I want to lead a conversation tonight about rest. So sometimes business can cause us to be exhausted because we're working long hours. And in working long hours, we're hustling, we're grinding, we're trying to make it work. Okay, that's one way you can get exhausted. Another way to get exhausted, and this is where I'm at, I would say I probably, I don't work full time, right? My business does not have me work full time. Now, that being said, I am constantly moving my brain into business and the growth of my business because of where I want to take it. So I've created great cushion or margin in my schedule, right? I have a very good quality of life as it relates to how many hours a week I work in my business. And so most would look at that and say like, oh, wow, well, you just might like sit around all the time and be super rested. And yet what I've noticed is that I'm not. Like I have a lot of rest as far as time in my calendar, in my schedule, and yet I don't feel rested. So for you, so look at your own life for a minute and just think, do you get a full night's sleep and still not feel rested? Do you, when you start to feel run down, do you take time off? And then even after taking time off, you still don't feel rested? I think what I'm starting to get at is I think there is something about our brains not shutting off. For me, with all the time in my calendar, I'm noticing that my brain still doesn't turn off. Now, some of that is my phone, right? Like if I showed you my screen time from my settings app and how many hours I'm on my phone, I would frankly be embarrassed, right? Like I'm on this thing like all the time. And a lot of that is not even productive, right? Like a lot of it I'm on Facebook scrolling. Partially because I have people there, but partially because I just get bored. I'm like, well, what should I do? I don't know. Let's go into Facebook. And I scroll, and then I'll go check email and I'll scroll, and then go back to Facebook and scroll. Right? You understand? So part of it is that I'm not giving my brain space to just unplug. Yes? So sometimes, and maybe for you, you don't have that issue, right? Maybe for you, it's not that you're on your phone all the time. Maybe it's for you that you make a bazillion to-do lists in your head and it's never enough. And so you never stop making to-do lists. And so you never let your brain unplug from the list. Maybe that's what it is for you. Maybe for you, like me, your business is in a season of expansion and you're constantly thinking, what's the next thing to do? Like if you looked at my Google Drive folders and all the documents with the brain dumps, and you looked at my whiteboards and all that, like I'm in massive creation mode. I am creating massive things right now. My brain won't shut off about them. I will often wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning simply because my brain is going on the next thing. So look, I guess what I want to say is like, even when you rest, even when you take time off, even when you have a weekend and you're like, okay, I'm going to put my phone down for 4 hours, and you do some things to intentionally find rest, but then you come back into the work of it all and you don't feel rested even after rest, like this is what I'm after. This is what I'm pointing to. I'm trying to shine light on it in my own life. And so in looking at it in my life, I thought it might be helpful for you to look at it in your life. And maybe we can compare notes. Maybe you can look at what it is for you and I can look at what it is for me, and we can reconvene and talk about what we noticed. What I do know is if you're going to build a groundswell, if I'm going to build the groundswell that I want to build, something's going to have to give, right? In terms of when I rest, I need to feel rested so that when I come back into work, I can give it everything I've got. Years ago, I read a book called The Power of Full Engagement. It's a fantastic book, The Power of Full Engagement. And in this book, the authors had worked with elite athletes like Pete Sampras, for example. And they worked with these elite athletes. And what they noticed was that the best of the best athletes had this ability to expend energy and recover. So for example, in tennis, right, you might have just had a really exhausting point. And then these elite athletes had a breathing ritual or something that would drop their heart rate within a matter of seconds. And that recovery also allowed them to play harder and better than their competition. They also noticed in the book and pointed to the fact that with professional athletes, oftentimes the on season is, let's say, 3 months, 6 months. And the off season is, let's say, 3 or 6 months, depending on the sport, right? And so even in professional sports, there's a lot of recovery time built into their year. But then the book goes on and points to what they called professional athletes. So let's say people in business. And what they noticed about people in business was that we don't have on seasons and off seasons. For business, we're just always on. So we don't have seasons of recovery. We're just always expending energy. And this is my point, right? Even when you, in a week or a night, try to take off time to recover, you don't disengage your brain and you have no ritual to unplug. And so even when you rest, you don't feel rested. And that's a recipe for burnout. And that's one of the things I'm trying to prevent, right? I'm noticing it early enough to say, like, I don't want to go down the road of being burned out. So I'm bringing the question, not just to me, but I'm bringing it to you, partially because I think it serves you, and partially because it's good accountability for me to tell you where I'm stuck, what I'm working on so that I work on it. Yes? Okay, so here's what I know. As you start to expand your business in marketing and the business grows, you're not only are you going to keep up with the clients that you need to serve, right? Because if you're marketing consistently, you're going to start to have more clients. But if you have more clients, you're going to need to stay out in front of those clients in order to continue to serve them and help them. And as your vision expands, this is where it becomes hard for your brain to disengage. So I'm just telling you from where I'm at in my journey at this moment, what I'm noticing, in hopes that it serves you. So that's it. That's it, gang, for tonight. Here's what I want you to go look at your life and say, where am I actually taking time to rest and then not feeling rested? And what could you change? What could you change in that ritual so that you actually felt rested? All right, that's it for tonight, gang. If you want to learn more about my 6-week program that helps you market so that you get more clients, so that your business grows, you can go to groundswellmethod.com. There are free videos at groundswellmethod.com. You're going to watch those free videos, and on the last page is an application button. Okay, the application button comes, you fill out the application, obviously, and it comes to me. And then I get back in touch with you, whether you're in the program or not. At the time of this recording, the next program starts on March 6th. And in this program, we basically walk you through not only you end the program by launching your own podcast. So if you've been thinking for a while, I want to start a show, I want a podcast, that's exactly what I teach you to do. But it's more than the technology of how do I create a podcast. The bigger issue for most people coming into that is really getting clear and inspired by what you have to say to the world. There's a lot of people who have taken podcasting courses because they were geeking out on like how to make a podcast work. And when they got all the tools and they got all the microphones and they got the cameras, right? And they got the lights and the editing, they got all the stuff. They do 2 episodes for their podcast and then stop. And that's the problem, because some of you will spend $800 or $2,000 or whatever you're going to spend on some podcasting program to get all the stuff set up and try a couple episodes, only to never have the depth of message to go the distance. This is the stuff that most people don't talk about. They get excited about selling you a podcasting course, but they don't actually talk about how clear you have to get about what it is you're really going to say to the world, so that you can go the distance. Do you know most podcast shows, there are over 700,000 podcasts. And of those podcasts, most podcasts don't get past 5 or 10 episodes. That's staggering. Why? Because people aren't clear what they want to say to the world. You don't know what conversation you want to lead. And that's what this 6-week program does. And we cap it off, we tie it off with a bow by having you launch your show. But it's deeper than that. Yes, it's deeper than the technology. It's all about what is the conversation you're leading in the world. That is the heart of marketing. If you'd like to learn more about that, again, go to groundswellmethod.com, watch the free videos, and on the last page is the application button. Thanks for hanging out with me here tonight in this episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Here's to you getting rest or feeling rested when you actually rest. See you tomorrow.